Precious Amayo. Let's start with the Iran war. Global oil markets are on edge as tensions escalate around the Strait of Hormuz, a key artery for the world's energy supply. With the route effectively short, fuel prices in the United States have surged, with the average cost of gasoline climbing to $4.30 per gallon, marking the sharpest single-day increase in 6 weeks. Meanwhile, Brent crude oil briefly hit its highest level in 4 years amid growing uncertainty over whether ongoing ceasefire efforts between the United States and Iran can hold. Now let's speak on what's going on in the U.S. now. Former FBI Director James Comey has surrendered to authorities to answer allegations over an image he briefly shared on social media for being a possible threat to the life of U.S. President Donald Trump. The case is a fallout from a 2025 Instagram post shared by Comey, which contained a photo of seashells on a beach arranged to read 8647. 86 is a slang term for get rid of, and prosecutors allege it encourages violence against Trump, who happens to be the 47th U.S. president. Mr. Comey has denied any wrongdoing, saying he did not know what the numbers meant. Comey's attorney, Patrick Fitzgerald, says the former director would seek dismissal on grounds of selective and vindictive prosecution, arguing he was targeted for speaking out against Trump. Radeba Wadia is a publisher of New Americans magazines. He joins us via Zoom from Columbus, Ohio. Good to have you join us, Mr. Wadia.
Thank you very much.
So speak to us about the parallel of this, of the timing of this particular trial or indictment, when you also look at the fact that just at the correspondent dinner, there were shootings and the suspect has been arrested as well.
Well, somehow I believe it's a coincidence because it's something that has been, they've been investigating it since last year because this was actually posted on Instagram last year. But somehow, like you said, there was an event at the White House that had to do with, attempted assassination. And so we may look at it and say, oh, yes, let's also bring this up. Also remember that the daughter of Comey, has a case with government in the court, and the government wanted the case to be settled out of court, and court just gave a judgment that they should continue with the case. And so you have, things that are happening coincidentally, at the same time. However, what I would say is that it depends on the interpretation given to 8647, because there was a time in the movie Godfather where the chief mob used 86, which is killing, It's also believed that it's a restaurant term. 86 is a restaurant term when you cancel an order. So it depends on the interpretation given to 86. And we have a situation, where you have somebody that is a former #1 secret agent that should also be aware of what is posted on social media, because there are certain codes, that I advise that going forward, James Comey should watch out, things posted to Facebook or to social media.
And that's the argument that, lots of people are making, that being the head of one of the most prestigious security institutions in the world, and that's the FBI, he should have known better. But how much trouble is he in right now? Because again, since making that post, President Trump has had at least 2 or 3 assassination attempts.
Yeah, that's why I said, certain things happen coincidentally, and it now depends on how this is argued in court because it's already in the court. So it depends on how both parties argue whether this was an intent, deliberate, or it's just something that is normal. That and so it will now depend on the judge to decide, or the jury to decide whether he's guilty or not. So it depends on the argument and the facts that are presented in the court.
Mm. And I will come back to the issue of intent in just a moment, but I wanted to speak about what the lawyer said, his lawyer said they will argue, which is that this is a vindictive indictment. But when you also look at the fact that, as I was saying earlier, the president has had at least 3 assassination attempts on his life, how would that hold against the idea that this is vindictive?
It's possible because I'm not a lawyer, but he had a case before. And that case was, he won that case, so to say, and so the government did not proceed. However, there was efforts to bring it back to the court, and so this could be argued that it's vindictive, especially when you look at the fact that what they are bringing to court for was actually posted earlier by somebody called Jack Pasobi, and nothing happened to Jack. Nothing was done. He never pulled it down, and he was never taken to court. He didn't apologize for posting it. And so it depends on, like I said, it depends on what will be put out there in the court. However, like I said, there are certain things that somebody at that level, should be involved in. Though everybody, go ahead, please.
I was going to ask you just the idea of saying, because again, he's the former FBI director. He has said that, he didn't know what that meant at that time. But, with someone at that level, again, I'm wondering if he can actually prove that he doesn't know what that means, being the head of one of the most prestigious security institutions in the world.
Yeah, the same thing I said, that at certain level one would have attained, in life. There are certain things you should be involved in. There are certain things you should not be involved in. So it depends on the argument that he'll put out, whether he's aware or he's not. Like I said, 8-6 could mean a restaurant term when you cancel, an order. So he could say he's talking about him, not being re-elected or supported in politics. We know that he's not going for re-election, but it depends on how this is being argued out in the court.
All right, so I'm going to try and use 8-6 to cancel my order. Now that I know that, he also means to cancel a restaurant order. But I wanted to ask about the issue around intent. I know you're not a lawyer, as you mentioned earlier, but how easily that can be proven. Their relationship wasn't cordial, quite all right, but I'm not sure how easily the Justice Department can prove intent.
Yeah, the thing about it is that he's been posting, on social media. And so these days, things you post on social media can be used against you, especially when it is proven that, there's an intent. And so it's all the things he had posted on social media could be used, whether it's deliberate or not. And so he has to now argue it out that he didn't mean it the way, the government is interpreting it.
Now, just in terms of the overall perspective, whether it's for or against President Trump, where does this tie in? There is already a simmering negative ratings for him when it comes to the war. But it looks like perhaps the assassination attempt may have bought him some sympathy. But where does it start? All of this start in?
Well, it's like I said, it's in this case it should be 50-50 whether the attempt brings him back to higher rating or remains the same way. And whatever the guy is going to say. And so we'll just wait and watch what happens going forward.
All right, well, following developments, his wife, we must also note, he also has a case in court as well. She's suing the federal government for firing her. She says they fired her because of the relationship with her husband being another Comey. I mean, interesting days ahead for the Comeys. Thank you so much for your time. Publisher, New Americans Magazines, Deba Wajai.
Thank you very much.